I'm focused on the spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie.
Hello. This is Christina Barr. You guys are watching Black Tea News. Today, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and how he has decided to make some tariffs, put some tariffs on films that are not made in the U.S. And I don't know how that's supposed to work. I don't see why, but hey, that's what Trump is talking about now as he keeps throwing out the tariffs out there. He had some interviews over the weekend and he continued like the language about, the children having less dolls or pencils or whatever. And I just, again, don't think that's a good route to go. Also want to talk about the meme, the Pope meme. That Trump had posted, I think maybe it was Friday, but I think it was Friday night, maybe, if not Saturday. But people were very upset about it, or at least pretending to be very upset about it. Spoiler, I don't think that they should post things from the White House, but people who think it's okay to kill babies, I don't think they care that much about Catholicism that much, and I think they're pretending to be outraged for the sake of outrage, these people who cheered on Obama as he sued the Little Sisters of the Poor and so on. But we'll get to those topics. And some other things as well. Before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, and my website, all that good stuff. So you guys get support. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website as well. You guys can also check out some of my books that are available as well on the website. I have 18 books altogether. If you go to the website on the merchandise page, there's a link that'll take you to my book website. But there's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube that'll take you right to like an Amazon page with like all my books and stuff on it, so you guys can check that out. I have mostly fiction books, but I do have books like, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. So I have decided what I'm going to do about the convention, which is actually next week. So I'll be at Motor City Comic Con next weekend, and it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's in Novi, Michigan. If you're in Novi area or Metro Detroit or Michigan, people come from all over. Motor City is a really good show. They have some really big talent coming. Some people cancel, but Bryce Dallas Howard is going to be there. Jeremy Renner is going to be there. He played Hawkeye in the Avengers. They have some of the people from Cobra Kai. They have just a lot of different folks coming. So I expect it to, be pretty big. They've had some good guests, all throughout, these past couple of years and stuff. But yeah, I'm like, this person's coming to Motor City. Some people that I've seen before and met before are coming. Sam Witwer is a really cool dude. Sometimes you meet celebrities and they disappoint you and you're like, I wish I wouldn't have met them, or, oh, they were kind of weird or lame or whatever. Sam Witwer is genuinely a freaking nerd and just a really down-to-earth cool dude. So if you're gonna come, Sam Witwer was on Being Human, the American version. He played Aiden, and he also does a lot of voice stuff for Star Wars games, and he played Davis Bloom on Smallville, who turned out to be Doomsday. So but that's some of the stuff that he does. Back in the day when I was doing Gorgeous Geeks with my sisters and we were talking about pop culture and comic books and stuff, that was in the days of Being Human being on. So and Smallville was like a big part of our fandom because we would review Smallville every week. So it was really cool meeting him, but that was a while ago. But he's coming back. So if you're interested in coming, I will be there. I'll be in the Artist Alley in I3, and my sister, or maybe it's I3 and I4 is where we'll be at. So I hope to see some of you guys there. And if you can't make it, I have books available online that you guys can get. So we'll always have these moments of being live together. But as far as what I'm going to do, I obviously won't be streaming on Friday, and Thursday I have to do setup, so I won't be streaming there. So I think I'm just going to take the week. I think I'm just going to take the week and get ready for it and do some other stuff. I do plan, keyword is plan. I do plan to have some other video content to post that week. So different things that I've been working on that I haven't posted. I think that I'll try to have done, and I don't know if I'll have something for every day that I won't be live, but I'll try to have some things up. So make sure that you are subscribed to the page, that you hit the notification bells, so you'll know when I go live, or when you'll know when I post something. Allegedly, I don't know if they actually tell people stuff. I don't know, because all the time I'll see people say, "Oh, I haven't seen your stuff in a while." Like, oh, I'm like, I post every day. Ooh, got the hiccups every day. So I don't know what it is with YouTube that it like hates my guts right now, but it is what it is. Anyway, the first things I want to start with, because I have it happen to pulled up right now, is this Pope hat thing that Donald Trump did. And yeah, my sister, the notification is not great. So yeah, but I just check it, I guess. Just check it. But I'll try to well, I guess I can schedule some things, and if I schedule them, they should pop up and kind of alert. So anyway, we'll enjoy the week together, and hopefully have a very good, prosperous following week. And I hope you guys had a good weekend. Yesterday was Star Wars Day, and I did wear a Princess Leia dress. I forgot that I had one. Because I'm thinking like people are gonna come up dressed to church, or they're thinking that people are gonna do that. I'm like, I have a Princess Leia dress. It's not like a cosplay dress though. Years ago, Hot Topic made like this dress, and people have worn, when I was looking at the comments of people buying it, like, oh, it's perfect for me to wear to a wedding and this thing and that thing. People don't even like know it's Star Wars really unless you tell them. But yeah, I had a nice little outfit yesterday. Anyway, let's hop to it. So Donald Trump posted this image of himself as the Pope. And there's been jokes like, oh, Trump for Pope, because they do need a new Pope. And he posted it on Truth Social. Now, posting it on Truth Social is one thing. I think there's some things that there's a lot of things Trump shouldn't post. But we've come accustomed to him posting a lot of things that maybe he shouldn't post. Even as the president of the United States, we're like, bruh. But he'll go ahead and he posts it, and we're just kind of like, okay, this is Trump. That's what he does. Okay. And people are like, oh, it's funny. It's a meme. Someone said, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. So my contention with this is not just that there's an AI generated picture of the Pope that Trump posted on Truth Social. My issue is that we see here that the White House itself, the White House posted the AI generated photo. I feel like if it was just Trump on his page, I'm not gonna say it's fine, but it is what it is. If it was just Trump, his campaign doing it, whatever. I don't feel like the White House should probably be posting this stuff. And so I had just retweeted it and said the administration because they're really into their memes. I had showed it to someone and their mouth was just dropped for, I don't know, maybe the next 10 minutes. Because I'm just like, mm. So, I don't know. I'm not sure who's over the social media from the White House, but I feel like they got to rein it in a bit. I feel like they got to rein it in. I think it's okay to have some fun sometimes or whatever, but I think you got to rein it in. It's a little too much. It's a little too much. Um, it's not a forever campaign. He is the president, you know, and it's about the president serving the people, not just like adoring and uplifting a cult of sort of personality. Like, you are the president and you work for all of us, and we trust you to do things that we elected you for. And I'm not saying this takes away from that. He can post silly memes and still do good deals and whatnot. It's just, I just don't think it's the most appropriate place. Now, that aside, there have been Democrats saying that this is like anti-Catholic. And they're adding JD Vance saying things like, "Oh, how do you feel about this? He's disgracing Catholics. He's making fun of Catholics, etc. Blah blah blah." It's not that deep. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Out of things that politicians have done to offend the Christian community, this is nowhere near the top of any list. It's not even the top of his list. It's not even at the top of Trump's list. But I you know, don't want to be lectured, and I don't think he probably wants to be lectured by people who cheered on Obama when he sued the Little Sisters of the Poor. You know, and you could say, well, he wasn't suing the Little Sisters of the Poor. He was suing no, he did sue the Little Sisters of the Poor. There was a Biden's health director, I mean assistant, no, health secretary, before he was a health secretary, he sued the Little Sisters of the Poor. And people say, well, he didn't actually sue the Little Sisters of the Poor. He was suing the Trump administration, who was like trying to protect the Little Sisters of the Poor. It's like kind of the same thing, guys. It's kind of the same things. So the Little Sisters of the Poor wanted, during the Obama administration, they wanted to have they didn't want to be made by the Obamacare mandate to supply birth control for folks, because Catholics are against that. And there was like a something that they could give their employees so they could go say, well, hey, well, my place of employment doesn't do that, therefore we're filling this form out so we can go get it like elsewhere. And the Little Sisters of the Poor were like, no, we don't even want to do that, because it's still like supplying us. We're still helping you obtain this thing that we don't see as moral. And I'm like, oh, they have a point. So anyway, they went to court because of Obama. You know, Hobby Lobby had to go to court because of Obama and stuff too. I don't know if they're Catholic or whatever, but you know, there's just been all kinds of different issues with different Democrats, with different religious institutions. Biden, when they changed the agriculture with gosh, I'm like today. He decided to do for the transgenderism. If your school's denied letting boys and girls sports or whatever, they're going to stop the funding for school lunches. And so that was done through the Department of Agriculture, through the different rules that they tried to rewrite. So that, I don't think that ended up getting pushed a lot. Like, I mentioned that when that came out, and I frequently bring it up because I'm like, I'm not going to just forget that. I was a free, lunch kid too. But there were Christian schools that were like, we're not going to do that. So they had to end up like suing the Biden administration. And then they ended up getting like, special, okay, we're not going to do it against you. We're not going to do it against you. So I don't think they pushed it too hard after they got some pushback. It's, not a good look to say, I'm going to strip kids of their lunch money, you know, but that those were religious schools that push back against that. There are religious schools that in California who they try to force to pay for abortions that Planned Parenthood lobbies to try to make them do that. And the list goes on and on and on. There were different adoption agencies and foster care organizations that believe in traditional marriage that were going to be sued out of existence. The Supreme Court did some stuff to like shoot that down. So and there was a case in Michigan where they were coming against one of those organizations, but they ended up dropping the case after higher courts went in the favor of like the Christian groups. But there's all sorts of religious persecution that goes on in our country. And Donald Trump by no means is the perfect advocate for Christians. And I feel like this last run that he had was probably the most kind of most offensive as far as policy wise goes, but people still felt that he was the better option, and he absolutely was the better option between him and Kamala Harris. And I've seen a lot of people, I guess there's always been videos of like, do you regret voting for him yet? Do you regret voting for him yet? Do you regret voting for him yet? And so on. And the answer is still no, because we know who she was. There's things that Trump is doing that I'm not fond of. I'm not fond of all this tariff stuff, which we'll get into and we have been getting into, but she was still the worst. And there's people trying to uplift her. She did some kind of address and no one cares. I didn't even bother covering it. No one cares. No one likes her. She now that she's no longer the vice president, people have to put up with her perhaps being the president one day. They had to go along with it because she was the vice president. He dropped out or whatever. But she had no charisma. She's not that intelligent, And Tim Walz the other day said that she was the most qualified candidate there's ever been. And I know that was rhetoric going on in the campaign, but you don't have to keep lying about it. It was stupid that like she was more qualified than George Washington. More qualified than Daddy Bush, not the W, the daddy. Some of them have like a lot of things in their backgrounds as far as them governing states or, serving in other administrations or being vice president or themselves. And Kamala Harris, she served in different roles, but she got them through. I'm sorry, she slept around with a very powerful guy in California, amassed some donors and did shady stuff to get them, shady stuff for Planned Parenthood and other folks. And she kind of kept failing upwards. She wasn't even a senator for that long. And she's the most liberal senator, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. And we were just supposed to forget that because she didn't want to mention all the stuff that she supported for 3 months. Like, get real. They pulled that same line with Hillary Clinton. They're like, Hillary Clinton's the most qualified person who's ever run for president. I can't believe they won't vote for her. If that's how Obama felt, which Obama was like, Hillary is more qualified than even when I was when I ran. Yeah, she was. You still ran for president though. You didn't step out the way and say, oh, here's a qualified woman. Let me step aside. As a matter of fact, right before Obama ran for president, he was asked about running for president. Like, are you going to run for president? He's like, no, because I believe that you should actually be qualified for the jobs that you apply for. I guess he changed his mind. I guess he changed his mind. I don't feel like she was more qualified than Hillary. I would say she certainly wasn't more competent than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's a lot of things. I don't think she's incompetent. She's evil, but she's not incompetent. She would have never did some of that crazy. I mean, her campaign was I think her campaign was mostly marked by arrogance and the need to lie. because just a lot of the stuff on the ground that they did, like there are people, if you go around doing walk books, like you have like people's names and their addresses, you go ask questions about who they're voting for, maybe things are on the ballot or whatever, and so on, and you're just collecting data, and then you have to go and then put the data in the computers or whatever. Now a lot of people have digital walk books or whatever, and some people had apps and other stuff at that time too, but people were still using paper walk books, and some people still prefer paper walk books. But some Hillary people told, like my sister, that they weren't even importing stuff in the computers. So they had people for some reason going around collecting data, but they wouldn't put the data in the systems, maybe just because they just thought they had it in the bag. And then there were people who needed money in the campaign, and DNC or whatever wasn't sending money to other people on the ground. So I don't think they knew where they were. And then people didn't like her because, corruption, and they're tired of the elites and they wanted something different, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think policy wise she would have had some better inclinations than Biden and Kamala. I guess a part of it would depend on how far left she was just ready to run. And the answer is, I think pretty left. But Clinton, her husband, knew to adjust in certain situations or whatever. And I just don't think that Kamala or Joe really had, I guess, that much in them. So I just I think she would have been better than what we had the last 4 years. But Tim Walz just needs to knock it off. All these people saying that Kamala Harris was more qualified than anybody else who's ever run, it's just insane. Anyway, she had some pretty anti Christian policies. The Biden administration persecuted or prosecuted some Christians, like people at the protesting the abortion clinics and so on. And I'm talking about full on raiding people's houses for cases that were easily dismissed. And some people weren't easily dismissed. Some people went to jail. And then were pardoned by President Trump. So that's a good thing. But I was floored when she said that she didn't want any exemptions for people with abortion. Like when she was asked by the press, like, if you want to get some kind of codification of Roe v. Wade in, you're going to need Republican votes. Would you be willing to compromise and make sure that there's an exemption for religious institutions? And she said, well, I don't think we should have, exemptions for something like a fundamental right. And I'm like, bro, I don't know how you plan on implementing this. No, no exemptions, but it kind of sounds like you're going to make religious institutions participate in abortion. And that's was like full on, hey, she's the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst for Christians. So no, I don't regret voting for Trump. I know my options. I knew my options. And Pope had memes of Trump is not going to make me regret voting for him over her. It's not. It's not. It's not. I don't think he should do stuff like this. At least I don't think the White House should do stuff like this. But it's still better than what I got. That doesn't mean that I don't think he should do better, be better, and I'm not going to criticize him or whatever. But people are living in a fantasy land when they just expect people to be like, oh yeah, we made a terrible mistake. If people made a terrible mistake, then that should have been like in the primaries. That's when it's like, oh, we made a terrible mistake, if there's a mistake that was made. And that wasn't even everybody's mistake. That was people of Iowa basically who decided the outcome of this election. And I guess decisions by like DeSantis's team and other folks like that. But people who are trying to insist that there was a mistake that was made, they wouldn't have supported the other guy if there was if it was Nikki Haley or if it was Ron DeSantis. They would have supported the person with the D next to their name. They would have supported Kamala. So one way or another, I was supporting their team. Just like a lot of them don't want to support any of the people on our team. Not everybody's like that. There's a lot of people who just look at the person. I'm not saying there's not a Democrat that I wouldn't vote for, but I'm a Republican. If people have Republican policies, I'm going to pick them over the Democrat policies. Usually. Now, if you get Trump's pretty D. Trump's pretty D. And sometimes my sister says that and she means decent. The D's, I'm like, nobody says that. But I mean, D is a Democrat. He has a lot of those inclinations, I think, still. So, you know, and they're still not happy. They're still not happy. If they wanted to put up a Democrat who is actually like more Republican, I guess maybe it's a possibility. If the Republican candidate wasn't conservative and the Democrats had one that was, you know, kind of more conservative, then there's a possibility I would cross over then. But now when they keep nominating crazy people like Kamala Harris, I don't think that's probably going to happen again. We'll see who they have. It's a long road before we get to another presidential election. We got to get through to the midterms, but I this isn't the first meme that I haven't liked that Trump has posted or the White House has posted. I fully expect him to post wild things. I do. But I just encourage him to be a little better at this stuff. Okay. So anyway, Donald Trump decided that he was going to go after movies that are made outside of the United States. And I'm a little confused about it. So, he said the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin to process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into the country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. And the commentary that I see surrounding this is a lot of confusion. Like, how are you going to implement this? I don't know. It's just kind of not the same thing as regular kind of goods coming in. So when do they pay the tariffs? And we don't know how this is going to work. And I'm frankly, I don't understand why do this. I mean, I understand you're trying to bully people into just filming inside of the United States. But let's for a moment forget the incentives. What if it's just better for you to film something outside of the United States? Maybe you don't want to film something like green screen all the time. Maybe you want to actually go to some location shots and you're like, oh, there's this perfect place in this part of the world that I want to go film it at that has the right feel. There's a space where I can do it for X amount of time for the shooting and it just works. You know, there's some really cool places in the United States that have all kind of, you know, Michigan. You can just go throughout Michigan. There's places that are really neat. You go up to the UP and you can go see stuff that you never seen really. And, you know, there's places all over the country where you can film stuff. But you might want to go film something in the UK. You might want to go film something in Africa. You might want to go, you know, you might want to go to Greece. There's all kind of places you might want to shoot that might be good for your film. But there are all kinds of incentives to go shoot it in other countries. And if you're trying to get the cost down on your film, like why wouldn't you do that? There's all kinds of incentives in places like Georgia to film, and that's why a lot of people go film there. You see a lot of stuff and you see that made in Georgia, which isn't a great little theme thing, but I guess I remembered it. So with the little peach. So there's a lot of stuff being made there because of those incentives. And in Michigan, we had a film incentive thing that they ended up repealing. I thought it was cool, some of the movie stuff going on, but whatever. But when there was incentives, we had some more films and stuff being made here. People will go where you incentivize. So I don't know. The answer seems like states should make things cheaper, so people will want to film more things in the United States of America. So people don't have to feel like they have to shoot their TV show, their reality TV shows in Ireland or other places, wherever they're filming them at. Vancouver is a place where they film a lot of stuff. Smallville was not made in, the US. So that was a show that I watched all 10 of them seasons. Not all of them are good, but I watched them all. I watched them all. And there's some stuff that is filmed like in the US. Lost was filmed in Hawaii, and they film like everything. Just about everything they did film on the island. So there's I guess you could find a way to film just about all the stuff that you want. Maybe. But you might need to go elsewhere. I just kind of feel like this is a lot. And to for what reason? Just I don't know, to the Hollywood unions try to make them happy. I like a lot of folks are making more content more than ever, and they're trying to do it cheaply because there's a lot of competition because of streaming and the different pay structures between what we used to do, what used to have with the residuals are different with the streaming and AI and other things. We're getting into kind of new territory, new world, and it just seems like this is an unnecessary bill to try to enforce on people when the answer is for us to make things more hospitable to our folks here or for other folks around the world so they'll come here and shoot stuff. But I like some foreign stuff, foreign films, foreign books, foreign cartoons, and so on. I'm an anime girly. And I don't watch that many Korean dramas, but my sisters, I've seen a few, and my sisters love them. And they love them because they're so wholesome compared to a lot of stuff that we make in the US. Like that moment when people finally embrace and they finally kiss, or the kiss too much, like when they finally like grab each other's hand, or it just finally hugs her or something. There's dramatic music and her eyes get big, and maybe there's rain, and it. I guess they have stuff that's not wholesome or whatever, but the stuff that they watch, really, really wholesome stuff. You can't even watch the CW without it being, Make Out City or something. So it's weird, guys. And I don't even know how he's going to fulfill this. And when you think of so many movies, like right now, someone had mentioned some of the movies being made overseas. Avengers Doomsday, The Odyssey. I guess it's possible to film everything in The Odyssey in the United States, but it just kind of makes sense that you might film it other places. Just kind of makes sense to me. The new Avatar movie, Supergirl. So this is why I think economically, in some of the polling, people are saying he's focusing too much on tariffs and not enough on inflation getting costs down. Not that he's not working on other things, but people just sort of see a misplaced priority. Like, people didn't like the trans stuff with the Democrats because they started to see misplaced priorities. And they're like, okay, I really want to see these prices go down, and things are still expensive, and X, Y, and Z. And he's like, by the way, I would like to throw some tariffs on things made outside of the United States. So on TikTok, I'm seeing people saying he's coming after our anime. I don't think you want that community upset. So I definitely watch more things made outside the United States. Like, in general, I do go. I mean, I guess I don't, every movie that's filmed, I don't know everywhere where it's filmed, but in general, I mean, I like anime, and a lot of the TV shows and stuff, like I mentioned, Smallville, that was filmed in Vancouver. I think I think Supernatural was primarily filmed in Canada too. I think a lot of the shows from like CW and stuff were probably filmed out there. But it's Vancouver is a hotspot. Vancouver's a hotspot. So is this weird, guys? Like, was this on your bingo card? Was this anywhere near what you were thinking of what might happen in the Trump second term? I don't even think they have any judicial nominations. I don't know why, but that was something that McConnell and they were really, really, really doing very quickly and efficiently in his first term. And now it's like tariff this, tariff that, tariff that, tariff this. I didn't ask for that. I don't need it. And Hollywood has had a lot of issues, a lot of problems. A lot of it is streaming. There's a lot of competition, and a lot of people feel like if it's in the theaters for only 2.5 seconds and then it's going to be streamed, why should I go run and buy the ticket? Because people go to the movies and they'll buy popcorn, they'll get their slushies and etc. So they're spending a lot, and then they got to bring other people with them. Maybe they bring in the kids, and it just gets expensive for different folks. Not everybody just goes on $5 Tuesday. So there's all kinds of issues. There's the content that goes on with films. There's people don't like woke stuff in the films. I think that's an issue. I don't know. People don't come up with new concepts. People have fatigue with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Marvel fatigue, though. People like the new Thunderbolts movies and stuff that's come out. And some of the Disney projects have done well, like last year, like Inside Out 2 and Moana 2. Though a lot of people didn't like Moana 2, but it was profitable. but a lot of their stuff, is it doing too hot? There's a article about Kevin Feige. I think that maybe it was Variety that did it, or not Wall Street Journal. We'll have to talk about it tomorrow, maybe. But he was just really, really stretched thin with Marvel. Like, people had to like trying to chase him down. So they really overloaded themselves with too many projects when it came to like Disney and Marvel and all that stuff, which I'm not surprised. But the fans can feel that they're wearing thin. that they're stretched too many places, because you can see that come out in the quality of the work, the quality of the scripts, the quality of the CGI. You know, there's all kind of reasons why folks aren't happy with the films, and then the budgets for the films just get higher and higher and higher and higher, so they need like $1 billion or close to $1 billion to even be profitable with some of the stuff, which is insane. And they don't have like DVD sales to rely on like they did back in the day, so they have to figure out a way to fix their whole animal. But I don't think it's right to just take it out on other countries and foreign films and people who want to film on different locations. Like, that's our issue to deal with. That's our issue that we have to figure out. Like, and I remember Trump being upset, like when Parasite won an Oscar or something, and for did it win for Best Picture or something? It won something, and Trump was saying, "Oh, we got all this foreign stuff winning." He's like, "What about the great American movies?" And you know, I didn't see that movie myself, but I know he's just like America, 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 America all the time. But America doesn't always do it the best. They don't always make the grade of everything. And sometimes we just like our variety. Like, American comic book industry is not doing well right now. And hasn't been doing well for a while. But what's kicking butt and remains kicking butt is the Japanese comics, the manga. And that's okay. At least to me. Like, I want, American comics or whatever for them to do well, but we like what we like, and the consumer is going to go where the consumer wants to go. You just have to make a better product. You have to figure out and make a better deal. It's not the role of the government to fix all that stuff. And that's where like some of his Democrat tendencies are coming through. Like, we do want a smaller government. So, just you can't have your hands in all the pots, bro. You can't have your hands in all these pots. So he let's watch this clip about it. He was asked about it. I did read his tweet, but
the movie tariffs, what they've done is other nations have been stealing the movie making capabilities from the United States. And I said to a couple of people, what do you think? I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we're making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed. Now, you have an incompetent, grossly incompetent governor that allowed that to happen. So I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them, have stolen our movie industry. And I'm saying, if they're not willing to make a movie inside the United States, then we should have a tariff on movies that come in. And not only that, governments are actually giving big money. I mean, they're supporting them financially. So that's sort of a threat to our country in a sense. And it's been a very popular thing. I can tell you one thing.
Like where does it end? Where does it end? Like, if our pop industry isn't as good as it isn't, does the press conference say these Koreans are killing us? we've got to put a tariff on Korean music coming in the country. We have to stop BTS. Like, we have to stop. Where does it end? Does he come for manga next? Where does it end? Where does it end? They have to figure that out. And he mentioned incompetence in California. I'm assuming he's talking about Newsom. That's their issue to figure out. And all those people, they keep voting the same way for those terrible policies, for those terrible people, and it hurts their business. They got to wake up. You can't just punish the whole world because we do something stupid. We have to stop doing stupid things. We have to stop doing stupid things. And these politicians like George Clooney will fund all this money to Biden and all these different folks. And he did an interview not too long ago too, but they fund all this money to these dumb politicians who make things uber expensive and are killing their industries too. That's their issue to deal with. That's their issue. But don't punish everybody else. Please don't punish everybody else. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, something interesting about Canada, they just had an election and they also decided to vote in their uber liberal leadership. They had their chance to do something better for themselves, but they decided, hey, let's go with Carney. I issued my condolences to some Canadians on TikTok, and some of them are like, no, we're happy and we don't have fascism like you guys are doing in America. And I'm like, why are y'all pretending like we didn't see what y'all did during COVID? Why y'all pretending like we didn't have eyes? And then someone was like, what are you even talking about? We were just keeping people safe. I'm like, in my mind, I'm just thinking about the trucker stuff and them shutting down their protests, their peaceful protests. And there was one woman who was trampled by like a police horse. They shut down people's accounts, their financial accounts, if they were like associated with that stuff. And y'all think Trump is a fascist? I don't think most people who use that term have no idea what it is anyway. But they were crazy. And the lengths that they went to were so insane because they had a pretty high participation rate as far as people getting the jab. So why Canada still felt like they had to go so hard and at their people was really amazing to me. There was one story I covered about a kid who the family didn't want to give the jab to their kids, so they wanted to move them out of like the children's hospital and stuff. And I think it was like a Ronald McDonald Hospital. And that was a story I covered and I got flagged on YouTube. I got a hard strike, not because it wasn't true. I think they just didn't like my title. It was a very aggressive title, but I couldn't post for 2 weeks. They're very, very sensitive about that stuff. Speaking of sensitive and censorship, this is the topic of this particular clip. Carney is going to go after censorship online, where they're going to censor stuff because of hate speech, and he called out American companies, and there's some really bad stuff online, including on X and TikTok and other places, but Canada is not going to wield this power responsibly.
American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. My government will act. And today we're announcing our plan to fight crime, to protect Canadians, and to build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. A plan to make Canada secure, to make Canada strong.
So a couple weeks ago, we talked about censorship in Europe with different online stuff and how people were getting arrested for things that they posted online. I don't know if Canada's going to go that far, but I think they're more likely to go in that direction. I mean, if you preach certain things in Canada, like about homosexuality or whatever, you're going to get a warning from the government, and then something else is going to happen. So they're already pretty bad with their censorship and other things like that. So that's what they voted for. That's what they voted for. I played for you guys, I think maybe on Friday, a clip of him talking about him going after companies that don't institute the proper climate change policies that they want. So he's a bully. They don't care. I got a question. Thoughts on Emily Saves America's comments on stay-at-home moms? I'm not sure what those are. Emily. See if I can find it real quick. If you have a link to some, I don't know if you post a link, I guess I could just copy it. Maybe if you want to post something in the chat. I don't know if they will let you post a link in the chat though. Let me look for something on Twitter real quick for it. You heard Matt Walsh talking about it, huh? Is this it? Is this the video?
Hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like trad wife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day. Slim to none. I would say none that's going to work out for you or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe. You guys hate to call out my own party, but the
okay, so I did see people talking about this, but I hadn't watched the video myself. I think that you always should have some kind of skill or something, or bank account or something to fall back for yourself. I think that until you get married, you obviously have to find a way to take care of yourself. So one way or another, you gotta have some kind of skill or be making, unless you're marrying your high school sweetheart right out the gate, and he probably isn't gonna be able to provide for you without having some kind of job anyway. But I know the trad wife thing online, there are people who are doing it just for clicks and views and aren't legitimately trad. They don't have real traditional values, and a lot of people are doing it for attention. There was the account that got exposed a couple months ago. We covered it a little bit, but there was an account that was a trad wife account, and they were totally fake. Their life was completely a lie, and so they ended up getting exposed or whatever. So whatever you're doing for, just make sure you're doing it for you. Like if you actually like to bake bread and all that kind of stuff, go ahead and do that. Live your life. There's going to be a guy for you that wants you to do all those things, for sure. I think there's a lot of people who are doing it for clicks and views and attention. There's a lot of guys who would actually like that in real life, but you got to make sure that's actually something you want to do, because how you get them is probably how you're gonna have to keep them. And if you don't like to bake bread, it's gonna get old really fast. It's gonna get old really fast. My sister, my youngest sister Tina, who's the artist, she obviously has things that she does that she loves and is good at, like the art and stuff, to make money and so on. But she's very trad as far as like even some of these trends. Like she likes to bake and cook, and she can. You know, sometimes you go over her house and she's dressed in a cute little dress and her hair's done and she's got earrings and all the stuff. And it might even be a 50s looking dress. And we're like, well, where'd you go today? And she said, I just felt like getting dressed up and I'm baking bread. And she didn't put it on TikTok. She might have a TikTok or something that she did, but that's not why she did it. She just had the dress. She wanted to look nice. She didn't want to just wear pants or something. She wanted to wear the dress. She's got clothes, might as well wear them. And she wanted to make bread. She wanted to make a pizza from scratch. She wanted to make brookies or cookies or whatever. Every week we have like a Bible study at their house. And she cooks for Bible study. Korean food, like a homemade pizza. Her quesadillas slap. They are better than most restaurants. You know, so that's something that she wants to do. That's something that she loves to do. My mom, she didn't like to cook. And if when we got older and there was a dish of hers that maybe we started to do, then she'd be like, okay, I'm no longer making this fettuccine. You are. I'm done. Retired. But she did those things to serve her family, to serve her husband, to serve her children. And she didn't work. And my mom was trad of the trads. You know, as far as, you know, taking care of the husband, taking care of the family and so on. She didn't like, she couldn't, she took up knitting. Was something that I think she recently did before, you know, she had passed. She could sew, you know, but she wasn't like a seamstress or something like that. But, you know, she took care of her man. My daddy was spoiled. Certainly not in a, he misses it. That way. He misses it for sure. Yeah, there's you got to be marry my high school sweetheart, and he would never trap me or make me feel that way. There are women, I want to put it out there, that there are women who do get trapped in situations where they feel that they have to get out of the marriage and they don't have anything when they leave. So, you know, I do recommend having some kind of skill or something like that, and hopefully that doesn't ever happen. But you got to know the person you're going to be with, man. Make sure that you are making a good decision, that your parents like him. A lot of people don't listen to their I can understand if your parents are, I don't know, despicable kind of people, maybe a little bit, but there's people who won't listen to their parents on who they marry, and they're good, sensible people with your best interest in mind, and then you don't meet the fiance until they're the fiance. I don't understand that. So it's better to get, I think, excuse me, it's better to get married younger if you can, where you're experiencing life together, and a lot of adventures that you're having together. There's a lot of women, they wait way in life and they're like, well, I don't need a man for this. I don't need a man for this. I don't need a man for this. And maybe you don't, but you know, you've missed out on all things that you could have experienced together. And you just feel like two independent people, just, I don't know, who come together sometimes make out, I guess, as opposed to building a life together. And I know that's not like, you know, the necessarily the case for everybody, but people get older and they get married, have first marriages with people, you know, when they're older, and it's beautiful. There's some people I know who got married later in life and they have beautiful marriages. There's this one woman who used to go to my church. She got married in her late 30s. I guess she was 40, in her 40s maybe. And she said her husband is so good, and he was worth every every year she had to wait on this planet Earth for her husband, and he treats her so well. And so you know, those stories are beautiful, but if you can get a man and you're young and you can bake and you do all those things, I think there's a market out there, especially like Christians, they marry young, and if you're both going to church and you're not that there's not bad people who won't divorce whether ever in the church, but the more likely you go and you're virgins and you get married and you're committed to commitment, you are more likely to have success there and not end up, trapped, divorced, and penniless. So just try to make good decisions, guys. But if people like to break bread and be trad, let them be. Let them be. Let them be. Anyway, those are just some initial thoughts. I might think about it more. Last thing I want to say before I let you guys go. Trump did say over the weekend, he was asked a couple times about the comments that we discussed last week about tariffs and how the tariff war is going to lead to less things on the shelf. And Trump said, well, I think the child, maybe they don't need $30, maybe they just need $2 or something like that. And I said it's a really, 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 really bad thing to say. And so he was asked about it by Kristen Welker, and at somewhere else too, he repeated it. And that's just the talking point. Like, you don't need all these things from China. It's okay to have less things. I think that is really rich coming from someone who's lived in such excess. I can think of videos of Little Baron and a lot of toys and different things in his room, which were probably like high quality, maybe not necessarily from China. But you can't tell people that they just have to get used to their children having less, and that's just the story. You can have a better explanation to why we need to go to trade war with China, though I don't think the seriousness of needing to go to trade war with China makes sense while you're also saying that it's a national security risk that movies are being made overseas, while you're still letting TikTok, have their propaganda and algorithms and so on, even though it was banned and you're technically violating the law. Is it such a threat? Because you're saying this is a national security threat. It doesn't seem like it's a national security threat. So when you say that something is very serious, but this thing that's actually not serious to that degree, you're pretending it is. We not only think you have a skewed sense of priority, seems like you have a skewed sense of reality. The reason why Donald Trump has appealed to so many people, even as a very rich person, and hasn't seemed out of touch, is because he was able to relate to so many folks. He kind of has that, like, I don't know, talks like a normal guy to an extent. Well, he feels very personable. He's very charismatic, and so on. But there's been a lot of people on the left who haven't understood why so many poor people or people with not a lot of means or whatever could want to vote for someone who has been so rich. And I think an easy answer is a lot of people aspire to have more, to be more, to provide a lot of things for their kids and so on. And not just have enough, but to have excess, like he has. Maybe not as he has, but a lot. So telling people that they're going to have less or need to get used or whatever, and to prepare for that. Like that's the reality that they have to face, and just kind of like get over it. That's not going to go well. It's just not. It's not. Someone said it's giving me Marie Antoinette. It's just he's so good at understanding what people want in marketing, and just has a natural talent for it. Maybe with all his years in television and being in the public eye or whatever. So I'm amazed that and maybe it's just a blind spot because it's the reality of what's going to happen. And he's just so into the tariffs. He's just so into the tariffs that he's created this blind spot, but it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. So whatever messaging they have with this, they gotta nip it in the bud. It's not good. It's not good, guys. And that does not bring me joy. It does not bring me joy. Here's one of the clips. Again, and he said this more than once.
Listen. All I'm saying is that you don't, that a young lady, 10-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl doesn't need $37. She could be very happy with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I would. Let's not waste a lot of time on a stupid question. What else?
I'm sorry that was that one was really kind of poor quality, but he said a 10-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl doesn't need $37. She could be very happy with 2 or 3 or 5, 4 or 5. Man, people like they Barbies. I still have my sister's Barbies. They're in my basement. They're in a bin. And I said, "Do you want to give these to your daughters?" And she said no, because she's like, they don't respect dolls enough to play with my dolls. I'm like, you are grown and you haven't played with them in years. But I guess I kind of get it, because I mean, she has a new baby, so the baby certainly wouldn't know how to properly take care of a doll, and I guess they wouldn't be the nicest, but they're old enough that they shouldn't just like chop off their hair and color on their faces. So I don't know if she's ever gonna give her daughters her dolls. But no, kids. I didn't play with Barbies for very long in my life. I was like, I'd rather do something else. Like, this is a waste of time. I grew up very fast out of that phase, but I certainly had more than 2 or 3 dolls. I certainly had more than 2 or 3, because how are you gonna like have a advanced storyline with only 2 or 3 dolls? You know, we had Barbie doll land, and there was a queen and there was a king, and my sister Katrina, she would only allow her Barbie to be the queen. And, you know, and we all had dolls, and there was a lot of us. So there was a lot of dolls. My mom would eventually stealth throw stuff away, because we wouldn't throw it away. So she stealth did it. Oh, wow. I collected Barbies for years. I have 450 plus. You still have those Barbies? Oh, you. My mom bought them for the girls, my nieces. You know, my brother had a lot of action figures. You know, and then you have to think, not only is there going to be less, because we're talking about there's not enough stuff being on the shelves, but the prices are going to go up too. So you might only have 2, 3 dolls or whatever, and they're going to be more expensive than they ought to be. So this is a problem, and the narrative that he has around it aren't good. Someone's saying they're into stuffed animals. I wasn't like, I did have dolls. Like I had PJ Sparkles, if anybody. I don't think my crowd is like really young. I think everybody's at least my age or older. Maybe you guys know what PJ Sparkles are. Glowworms, you know, things like that. I had a Pikachu doll in here somewhere, but I gave it to my nieces or my nephew. I wonder if it's still alive. I know it's not alive, but I wonder if it still has stuffing and all that stuff in it. But he's gotta fix it, y'all. He's got to fix it. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, run the site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can check out my books. They're available online. There's a link in the description. It'll take you to Amazon page where you guys can learn more about them. And I look forward to being at Motor City Comic Con next month. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. But that's all I got for today. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.